Thank you, Fred. Just a quick note to you all. Good work the last couple of days with the mass optional policy. Keep it up and doing a good job. Remember, though, when we're in here, we'll have the mask on. But good job so far, guys. I'm really pleased with you. We have a special guest speaker for today's Wednesday chapel, and I'm pleased to introduce to all of you Mr. Jason Goldstein, and he's going to speak to us today about Shine a Light, a nationwide initiative supported by the Memphis Jewish Federation to illuminate the dangers of anti-Semitism. Mr. Goldstein is a 2004 alumnus of MUS, and he went on to graduate from George Washington University in Washington, D.C. with a BA in political science. From there, he went down to Florida, South Florida, to the University of Miami Law School, where he received his JD in 2011. Immediately after law school, he moved to The Hague, Netherlands, where he served as a law clerk in the appellate division for the Office of the Prosecutor of the United Nations International Criminal Tribunal, which convened there conducted a study or a trial and a legal examination of what happened in Yugoslavia. There he primarily worked on a case that addressed the tragic Srebrenica massacre of 1995. That was a genocide of more than 8,000 Muslim men and boys during the Bosnian War. It was the largest tribunal of its kind since the Nuremberg trials immediately after World War II. After returning to the U.S., he worked for the international logistics company Expeditors International for 5 years before joining the law firm of Harkavy, Schanberg, Kaplan here in Memphis. Mr. Goldstein serves on the executive committee for the Memphis Jewish Federation and as vice chair of community impact. He and his wife, Leah, have a 2-year-old son. As I mentioned, we like our alums to have sons, a son named Graham. And he is one of ours, and we're just delighted that he's here. Please welcome Mr. Goldstein back to his alma mater.
Morning, everyone. Thank you, Headmaster Sanders, for the kind introduction and for inviting me here today. Jude. To be ripped off. He Jewed me. How many of you had heard this term before? How many of you have heard family or friends say this term? How many of you had actually said the term? Till I was about lower school age, I'd never heard the term used. So the first time I heard it casually spoken in conversation by a friend of mine, it really shocked me. I was taken aback, pretty upset. I'd never heard it. I'd never experienced something like that. I asked the person who was speaking, my friend, did you just say Jude? And he said, yeah, so? And casually went on with the conversation. And I didn't call him out, didn't bring it up again. I just kind of moved on, but it stuck with me. I carried it on. And very short time after that, I was speaking with someone else, and similar conversation, and I used the term gypped to express the exact same meaning. And it was then and there that it dawned on me that that must be short for gypsy. I was doing the exact same thing that I had just heard my friend do with Jude. And it really astonished me. I was ashamed. I had never put two and two together. My family had used the word. I had friends who had used the word. My entire life I'd been using that word, and my entire life I had been perpetrating discrimination against a group of people, unwittingly, unknowingly. It was spreading hate, and I didn't know it, and I vowed to, first of all, never use the word again, and to call out anyone who used it, just like Jude. And, you know, language is powerful. It's powerful. It hurt me, it hit me, and I realized that language is so powerful that I had been spreading a message, an idea, and I didn't even know it. Words matter because they have history, and they convey ideas by their mere usage. Again, words are powerful. I'm here representing the Memphis Jewish Federation, which some of you may know, but it's a nonprofit organization that serves as the central coordinating, fundraising, strategic planning, and budgetary agency for the Memphis Jewish community. This Hanukkah, which ended this past Sunday, the Federation was part of a national campaign called Shine a Light on Antisemitism. purpose of the campaign has been both to educate on anti-Semitism facing the Jewish community and make a call for action for people to stand against it. Campaign has been pretty great. It's really taught me a lot. It provided some great information, and from that information, I found a couple of statistics that I found pretty impactful and I want to share with you today. Can anyone try to guess what percentage of the U.S. population is Jewish? Anyone have any kind of... Hearing some different numbers, 4%, I heard a 2 in there. Well, answer is about 2%, according to the U.S. Census and Pew Research. So 2% of the U.S. population is Jewish. In 2020, according to the FBI, 57.5% of all religious bias crimes in the U.S. were against Jews. So 2% of the population has 57% of religious bias crimes. The proportionality is astonishing, that few of people are experiencing that much of the discriminatory action in this country. But what's even more tragic to me is that this year, in 2021, 24%, or nearly 1 in 4 American Jews, have been the target of anti-Semitic incidents. So for every 4 Jewish people you encounter, it's very likely that at least one of them has faced some form of anti-Semitism this year. Take that in. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced anything like that, but it can be disheartening, it can be discouraging, and like I said, a lot of people don't even know they're doing it. So I'm sure you're familiar with some of the historical roots and occurrences of anti-Semitism, especially if you've taken European history here. So dating back to before the Middle Ages, many civilizations and countries that had laws that prevented Jews from owning land. Laws that prevented Jews from holding public office or participating in guilds, which controlled a lot of the occupations at the time. So being restricted from earning a living in other ways, Jews were forced into pursuits like money lending, trade, and commerce. As you can now piece together, this is the origination of many of the stereotypes that Jewish people deal with today. So today, Jewish people confront that history all the time. History was adopted by the Nazis to perpetrate great horrors and are still adopted by groups today to spread hate. It's very real, it's very present, and some of you have probably been witness to it. So a big part of the Shine a Light campaign has been to share stories of anti-Semitism that really hit close to home. So today, I'm going to show you a brief video about one such occurrence that happened not too long ago and not so far away at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. For some context, the video references events that took place October 2018. That month, a white supremacist terrorist entered the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and during Shabbat services, which is like a church service, like a Sunday morning church service, this terrorist murdered 11 people and wounded 6 people, and several of the people who did pass away that day were Holocaust survivors. It's the biggest terrorist attack to target the Jewish people on American soil, and similar to 9/11 for all America, it's an event that has remained embedded in American Jewish consciousness and will do so for a long time. Another frame of reference, Hillel, is mentioned in this video. It's a group that is a Jewish campus organizations at many colleges, including UT Knoxville, and so I'd like to run the video and show you this example.
Hillel hosted a vigil after the Tree of Life Synagogue shooting. So Hillel hosted a vigil in honor of the 11 lives that were lost, and we hosted that vigil at the Rock, which was a historic landmark at University of Tennessee's campus. And on the message, we had the tagline, "Stronger than hate." Following that vigil, a few days later, the message was covered up with hate speech. They changed "stronger than hate" to "stronger through hate," and there were several different white supremacist group tags on the Rock.
I believe it was on a Tuesday night. I was just sitting in my dorm, and one of my friends, a good friend of mine who lived down the hall, who actually isn't Jewish, he texted me this picture. One of our landmarks on campus had been defaced with swastikas, and then just Hitler quotes and other white supremacists and anti-Semitic sayings and symbols.
Fear was my predominant feeling, and then right after that was vulnerability for sure. I just felt stripped, very vulnerable, very just kind of what's next? What does this mean? How big of a threat is this? And how? what does my day-to-day look like following this exposure?
I mean, just for the next 3 nights, I didn't go out by myself. I stopped wearing my kippah. And I kept my star inside my shirt. And someone came up to me and basically just said a bunch of slurs to me. I mean, at that exact moment, it was okay. Don't respond, don't react. I just kept walking because I knew that, anything I did, any kind of response I had could have only made it worse, could have escalated to become physical. I didn't know if there were any other people there with them, so I just kept my head down, put in my headphones, and just kept walking.
I've been reflecting a lot. Like the Tree of Life Synagogue shooting was recent. The anniversary was recent. And I've been reflecting a lot how the shooting alone was such a shift, I think, in my mindset in terms of fear of anti-Semitism and the impact it had on me. Like that really heightened my fears, just the shooting alone. And then knowing that the Jewish group hosting a vigil in honor of it was targeted. It was just like a layer of fear related to anti-Semitism that I had never really felt previously.
I had kind of experienced some level of ignorance growing up here in Memphis, but never like true anti-Semitism. And so my first thought was, it scared me a bit, but my first true thought was, I need to tell people. I need to make this known.
It took the Federation. Like I'm not stretching it. Like it really took the Federation to kind of echo our words, to get our points across, and to really encourage action from senior leadership.
Some people have the ability to be ignorant because they've grown up in places such as New York or Chicago where they never really experienced anti-Semitism because they're not in the more religious Orthodox categories. But I think that all of us kind of have that lingering sense of we're always slightly on our toes.
I think the biggest lesson I learned is anti-Semitism is a threat, and we have every right as Jews to say that anti-Semitism is a threat and to ask for support from non-Jews to help us combat it.
Thank you. So as you saw in the video, the violent acts of the Pittsburgh shooter emboldened certain people in Knoxville to publicly and illegally express their own hate and anti-Semitism. Action spark action. Hate leads to more hate. But such atrocious incidents can also be powerful learning tools to rectify our mistakes. So when you hear that slogan that's often repeated from the Holocaust, never forget, what it really is trying to convey is continue to learn. So why is it important for you guys to hear this today? Why am I here talking to you? Because you are the future leaders of Memphis. You hear it all the time. You hear it in chapel. You hear it from your teachers. And as all of us undoubtedly learned here at MUS, leadership means having good moral character, being conscientious, and service to others. And today, in a time where Holocaust imagery and references to Hitler are tossed around casually in all kinds of conversations and debates, it's important to remember that words are important. They have history. They convey ideas by their mere usage. The Holocaust, an event that saw genocidal murder of over 6 million Jews in Europe, was only 76 years ago. To put it into perspective, Bob Dylan, Martha Stewart, and Joe Biden were all alive during the Holocaust. It wasn't that long ago when ancient ideas and stereotypes were used to perpetrate mass genocide and murder against Jewish people, and it was done in the name of progress. Today's anti-Semitic rhetoric shares a lot in common with what fueled the Holocaust, and many people will hear the words and ideas and repeat them unwittingly or without any strong intent because they've received them through their upbringing and culture. Just like my use of the derogatory term for gypsy, much anti-Semitic language and imagery you see has a modern look, like a meme, or is cloaked in the veil of present-day issues, but it relies on stereotypes and hateful ideas that were developed hundreds of years ago in the Middle Ages. Global conspirators, imposters, thieves, shadowy cabal, pulling the strings, disruptors of our realization as a nation, or as a people, or of our way of life. Governments and other powerful organizations will use anti-Semitism when it suits their needs to place a blame on a shadowy other for problems in society. It is a convenient scapegoat, a deflection, a rallying place for blame. These are the exact same ideas and oftentimes the exact same words used to attack Jews during the Crusades or during the pogroms in Tsarist Russia, or of course leading up to and during the Holocaust. Standing up to anti-Semitism begins with understanding it, recognizing it, and denouncing it. Especially for people who are not Jewish, if you encounter anti-Semitism, whether it be in casual conversation or something larger, please speak against it. Tell the person that it is inappropriate. Think about the words and phrases that you choose. If you find anti-Semitism in your community, family, or social or political organizations, use your role in those groups to change the discussion, inform, and oppose such ideas, because that is the true meaning of leadership. So I leave you with some calls to action. If you would like to take a step against anti-Semitism right now, please visit jcpmemphis.org/anti-Semitism and sign the Statement of Solidarity Against Hate and Anti-Semitism, which is part of the Shine a Light campaign. Second call to action, if you have not already done so, read the book Night by Elie Wiesel. It's about him recounting his boyhood during the Holocaust. It's very short, so it's a quick read. It's very impactful, and I trust that you will not regret it. And third, truly take to heart the wisdom imparted to you here at MUS regarding honor, dignity, respect, and character. You will likely receive education beyond MUS in some form, but rarely will you get information you can freely trust and take to heart that will make you a better man. Mr. Eichner, Murphy, Ray, Thompson, McCarroll, and Smythe, to name but a few of many, will give you a masterclass on how to be a good person if you just give them the chance. I'll leave you with a quote from Night that really goes to the heart of standing against hatred, and I hope that you'll acknowledge its importance. Human suffering everywhere concerns men and women everywhere. Thank you.